There is what would seem to be a very obvious point in this week's Parsha, but something that I believe classically gets overlooked. The Torah uses over and over again with regards to the creation of the world, God's creation, the word tov. Vayar Elohim ki tov. Simple understanding. God saw that it was tov. And we understand it as meaning God saw that it was good. But I don't believe that that's actually the Torah's interpretation of the word tov. What does it mean, tov? What is the context, and what is it trying to tell us? A few days before Rosh Hashanah, our son got married, Baruch Hashem. And there's a relative who's very close to me in our family who's not observant. He's been living with his girlfriend for quite some time. They decided that they want to tie their hands in matrimony. They want to get married. But they're not, or they weren't, exactly convinced what type of wedding or what kind of ceremony that they want to have. Certainly, they were far from considering a religious ceremony, chuppah v'kiddushin. However, this young man and this girl who are together, they came to our son's wedding, our son and daughter-in-law, Hadar and Yaakov. And having witnessed the wedding, this being one of the few religious weddings that this young woman had ever attended, she quickly, after the chuppah, came over to her mate, to my relative, and she said, "You know, this was one of the most beautiful ceremonies that I ever attended. I want to get married to you, but I want that we should get married with chuppah v'kiddushin, the same way that that religious couple get married. That is the type of marriage that I want." That is tov. That is what it means to have tov. It's not necessarily what they did or what they did in the past or what they're going to do, but what they potentially can do. Now, there is a possibility that they are going to conduct a religious ceremony, which, by the way, I am going to marry them personally as such. And now there exists the possibility for them to go on and build what we would call classically a Jewish home, or at the very least, a traditional one within the Jewish context. What is tov? Our daughter, who is now 22, Kenahara, because of what she has gone through with regards to Gila's mental illness, Gila's challenges, Gila's breakdowns, Gila's difficulties, and the challenges that existed in the home during the time that Gila was alive, Rahman al-Itzlan. Our daughter apparently has become sensitized as a result of that interaction, of those challenges, to herself and to her surroundings and to other people who may be suffering similar predicaments to what Gila had suffered. There is a young woman in town where we live who is suffering very similar consequences or an illness that is similar to that which Gila had experienced, had traumatized. And she's going through depression and going through anxieties and even having various thoughts. Sure enough, our daughter Nechama, all 22 years old, realized that this girl was suffering and recognized that she really didn't have many friends, many people to reach out to interact with, to help her grow and to discuss or talk or just to be there at her side. And so she took her on as her friend, and she would meet her sometimes at her house. She'd go over there and bake cookies with her or bake cakes with her. The other night she had her over to our home and they painted together on a canvas. And what she has done essentially is taken this young woman who has the potential for perhaps really lifting her hands in despair, becoming completely and utterly discouraged from any possible future that she could have. And what Nechama has done is demonstrated to this young woman that no, there is a future. There is something for you to embrace. There are people around you who believe in you, who support you, and who very much want to be your friends. And therefore, what she has done was she created the possibility for her, or for this young woman, to understand that it's unreasonable for you to throw away your life, but rather there is so much ahead of you that is there for you to live for. And therefore, what I want you to understand based on these two stories is that tov does not mean good. Tov means it is possible for there to be good. There now exists the possibility that good, kindness, wholesomeness can be accompanied in a better way, in a better fashion, into this world, and as such, make this world a better place. It is for this reason that it says, Vayar Elohim ki tov. When God goes through the steps of creation, as it were, he didn't see that it was good, which is also possible, obviously, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do, but he saw now that he made this creation, that there is potential for good. Now the world can potentially be a lighter place, a better place, a more productive place. And that is why, in the very same context as this week's Parsha, the Torah describes a person who is without matrimony, without a pair, without what we call zugiyut. Lo tov heyot ha'adam liot levado e'eseh lo ezer kenegdo. Lo tov. It is not necessarily good for a person to be without their spouse, without a partner, without a colleague, without an assistant. We would be hard-pressed to say that someone can exert the same potential when they find themselves by themselves, on their lonesome. And yet, when they find themselves surrounded or with other people, or at the very least, someone who has their vested interest in heart, then we know the famous comment, 2 heads are better than 1. The potential for that person to grow is that much greater. That is the tov. Lo tov, a situation where he cannot potentially grow, is when he's by his lonesome. But when he is together with someone else, he has the potential to grow that much more, the potential to make and to do good. And that is why Chazal say, Matzah Isha, Matzah Tov. You find a spouse, whether it be male or female, Matzah Tov. Depending on who it is, you have found good. You have found the potential, the ability to grow and expand and broaden your horizons as a result of your interaction with this other person who is now your mate, who is with you as well. I believe that this is also the context of the Navi Micha. The Navi Micha in Perek Vav Pasuk Chet, famous pasuk that all of us are familiar with, says, I quote you, Higid lecha Adam ma tov. A person will say, what is tov? Uma Adonai doresh mimcha. What does God beseech from you? What does he demand from us? Ki'im, but only. Asot mishpat. Va'ahavat chesed, va'atznei lechet im Elohecha. 3 things. Asot mishpat, justice. Ahavat chesed, kindness. Va'atznei lechet im Elohecha, modesty. The ability to understand and to appreciate that I need to grow more as a result of humility. Higid lecha, it's very interesting. In the context of Micha, the word that's used here is Higid lecha Adam. Adam, from his very inception. The only time that we find the word Adam is when we talk about the context of the creation of the world. Man from his inception. Man at the beginning of creation. Here too, Micha refers to Adam. In the very beginning, when a person is at the beginning of creation, that means that there is potential. There is a future. There is what to build upon. Higid lecha Adam ma tov. What is tov? What is not good, but what is the potential that will allow you to infuse more good in this world? Chazal explain on this pasuk that we have 3 junctions that are here. Mishpat, Chesed, and Tzniut. Chazal explain, as the Radak explains, Mishpat and Chesed refer to Ben Adam L'Chaveiro, justice, kindness, compassion to our fellow man. Hatznei Alechet im Elohecha refers to Ben Adam L'Makom, man's rapport and relationship to God above. All 3 of these components are what escalate and what evaluate and what allows the potential for more goodness to come into this world. Higid lecha Adam ma tov. The man has not yet accomplished that goodness, but he's asking, how do I accomplish that good, that tov? How can I infuse this world with more potential? And therefore, officially, that is what the message of this week's Parsha really is resonating with. Vayar Elohim ki tov, the potential, the good that we can potentially infuse in this world, if we try with our utmost capacity to behave properly and to follow the words of God, and in truth, to be kind and compassionate to our fellow man. I very often talk about how the tragedy with regards to Gila's demise is not only the fact that Gila died, that's blatantly obvious, but one of the greatest tragedies is the potential of Gila that died with her. A girl who had dreams, aspirations, who could no longer fulfill that potential that she might have wanted to do. We, human beings who are still alive, Baruch Hashem, are still equipped with the greatest gift of all. That gift is Tov, the potential to do good in this world. We are therefore should take advantage of that potential and to try in the best way possible to infuse this world with more good, because that is the potential that has been given to us, the Gila Way. Shabbat Shalom.